I'm Professor Chandrasekhar from IIT Madras, Ocean Department. So my background is actually civil engineering. Then I did my structural engineering from IIT Delhi. Then PhD also from IIT Delhi. I work on essentially on dynamic analysis of structures. I did my postdoc from Italy, essentially on non-linear dynamic analysis of structures under earthquake loading. I also did a lot of extensive research on offshore structures. So my primary interest is on design and development of offshore structural forms for deep water oil exploration. Offshore structural engineering actually is a multidisciplinary activity. You have got a lot of engineering specialties involved in this: civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, electronics, chemical, petroleum engineering, naval architecture, and ocean engineering. So many people are joining together in this multidisciplinary program. So we do have scholars in our department from different disciplines. So I am comfortable in supervising mechanical, electronics people as well. So I am not neither electrical nor mechanical. But still the orientation of the problem is very interesting. So I want to know a very brief background about your understanding on offshore structures. It becomes easy for me to really orient my lecture for another 1 hour. I am sorry for starting late. Now it's 9:15. I must have started at 9 o'clock. Doesn't matter. We'll close at 10:20 because Meera will never give me another lecture in the future. So we'll finish at 10:20, including all the questionnaires. So I want you to be active in the class. When the lecture is going on, you can stop me and ask me questions. That's easy. And you should also understand this whole virtual lecturing is being recorded at IIT Madras. So we'll also put it on the website of NPTEL with the support of IIT Madras. So you can also see this lecture back once again any number of times you want. We'll send the link to Dr. Meera. From there you can always download it and you can see this entire lecture again. So the PPTs are also available here in this form. So when you have any difficulties, stop me there and ask me. I have got about 50 slides. It will take about an hour for me to discuss, but I'll go slowly. So my question is not you should understand all, but even if you understand 10% of what I am discussing, I think I made my lecture fine, because within 1 hour, if you are able to understand 10-15% of my lecture, I think it is okay for me. It doesn't matter. I am happy. Madhuri, I am able to see her. So
yes,
how are
sir.
you?
Fine,
Where are you
sir.
sitting? Okay. Where
I
are
am
you?
in Andhra University, sir.
Oh, you are also in the link, is it?
No, sir, I am in Andhra University, sir. Andhra University.
Oh, okay. So you have left JNTU, is it?
Yes, sir. At present, I am in Visakhapatnam, sir.
I see. So you are also in the web link now, is it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. Okay, fine. She is one of the bright students what I had. Okay. So can I have some brief background about the people who are present there? Because many of you, I know you are faculty members. You must be teaching dynamics as a course. You also understand vibrations and its importance in undergraduate and PG programs. So if you have your background, orient yourself to what you expect from the lecture. I will just go through that in that same form. My topic is going to be stability analysis. Okay. Offshore compliance structures. The moment I say stability analysis, you can always challenge this analysis only when the load is on extreme conditions. When the loading is not extreme, condition, stability will always be there in under equilibrium. Okay. Stability will be always there. Now stability will be violated only when you have an extreme conditions. So I define the statement saying extreme load conditions. So I refine the statement again saying extreme load combinations. So I pick up two extreme loads. One is earthquake load. Then the second is extreme sea state. So we'll add these two loads, apply onto a system and see how the stability will be challenged. So one can fundamentally ask me a question: why stability should be challenged when the load is extreme? Interesting. What is the difference between stability and safety? Safety, reliability, stability. Let us quickly speak about this and understand where do we stand. Safety is more or less a non-engineering issue. Reliability is related to strength. For example, you have a system applied on some load, system has a strength or capacity. If the system is not able to deliver or disseminate or alleviate this load, then the reliability index is failing. So reliability is related to strength. Then the question comes, what is stability? If you look at the conventional definition of stability in the literature, stability actually is the capability of the system to regain its original position and shape under extreme load conditions. So stability is related to displacement. Whereas reliability is related to strength. Then one can ask me a question, what is the difference between stability and elasticity? Because that is also regain of shape and size. It is regain of shape and size on removal of load. Stability is recentering capability. You are able to recenter the system. The system is enabled to get back its equilibrium position under extreme loads. The stability is a special condition of violation of displacement. So one is on displacement, one is on strength. Okay, I am not able to see Madhuri's pack on Andhra University. Can you please, Meera, can you please check that I am not able to get Madhuri's window? I am getting only JNTU window. Doesn't matter, but I want her also to be interacting in this. Okay. So we are talking about displacement. So then, oh, thank you very much. Thanks. I am able to see her. Madhuri, can you hear me? I think your voice is on mute. Oh, okay, fine. So reliability, stability, and safety. So we are talking about stability analysis. Now, why did we pick up offshore compliance structures? Let us quickly see what's a compliance structure. Please look at the spelling here. It is compliant. It is not compliant. Compliancy is a term related to flexibility. Compliancy means highly flexible, less stiffer. The moment I have a system which is highly flexible, you can always understand the system will undergo large displacements. When the system undergoes large displacement under extreme loads, stability will be challenged. So it's a very interesting problem. You have a system which undergoes a larger displacement by design, not by loads. I'll tell you that slightly in a minute. So the large displacement or compliancy is by design. Again, Madhuri's window is gone. Meera, please check. So compliancy is larger displacement by design.
Sir, Madhuri is getting your lecture, sir. Only she's.
Okay, she is online. Okay, bye. Okay, fine. Right. All right. Okay. Doesn't matter. So we are talking about a system which is compliant in nature, which by design undergoes large displacement. When you have a system which undergoes large displacement under extreme load conditions, stability will be challenged. So the problem is very well defined in the beginning. So this will be of interest to many people, maybe structural engineers, maybe civil engineers, maybe mechanical engineers, maybe offshore engineers, maybe safety executives, maybe reliability engineers. So many people will look at different window of this problem, so that becomes very challenging. So let us take one step ahead and understand what do we mean by compliance structures how they are designed to have large displacements, because generally in any structural system, be it civil or mechanical, we generally do not want displacements. We put constraints to avoid larger displacements. Whereas in offshore structures, we design the system for large displacements. So let us quickly understand what kind of system is this. Any questions here? Let's say I have a system. I am just drawing a three-dimensional view of a system. This is having a deck plate of some thickness, supported by column members, connected by pontoon members. So these are called pontoons. These are called columns. This is called as a deck. You can also have multiple deck. And so, you have all drilling facility happening here through and through. You have the flare boom, which is used for disposing the flare here. You have helipad somewhere here. You have living quarters somewhere here, and the water depth is somewhere here. This is the water line, what we call mean sea level, and this is my water depth. So this is my ocean bed. This is what I call a small d, which is water depth. This is what I call as capital D, which is diameter of the member. Interestingly, this area and these areas are transparent, they are through and through. So water can flow through this. Now let us quickly see the typical dimensions of this. This is about 70 to 100 meters. You can imagine the size of a room, then multiply the size to get this number. This is going to be approximately 70 to 100 meters. Usually the platform is square in shape. This dimension is approximately 40 meters, 6 to 10 story building, and the draft dr is approximately 20 meters. Maybe 22, 23 meters. A typical diameter of the column member or a pontoon member is about 12 to 16 meters outer diameter. So this is hollow. This is 12 to 16 meters. So now you have a system which is very large in size. When implaced in water, they will disperse the volume of water. So by hydrostatic principle, this will have a very large displacement of water. Therefore, this will be subjected to very high buoyancy force. FB is what called as a buoyancy force. This buoyancy force should be compromised by W, which is weight of the system. For example, if FB is exactly equal to W, the system will remain in equilibrium. Okay? You can imagine that such a large displacement, you want to equate that to weight. The weight of the platform needs to be very large. So difficulty is once you keep the weight very large, you require a lot of cranes to install this platform. And towing the platform, commissioning, installing will be very difficult. So the design is W is kept very, very less compared to M by design. the W is kept very, very less compared to FB. It means the buoyancy force exceeds weight by many times. Now one can ask me a question interestingly, then how the system will remain in stability? Because once you put the system in water, buoyancy will push the body up and the body will not float, it will be thrown out. Now interestingly, to hold this body down, I am connecting teethers. These are called teethers. These are otherwise simply cables which will hold down the system by some initial pretension. Now let us look at the equation of static equilibrium for this. Under static equilibrium, I have the forces as W acting downward, buoyancy acting upward, and T naught, which we call initial pretension, which is acting upward. These are the three forces now. And we also know W is very less compared to FB. Therefore, W plus T0 will be FB. So this is acting downward. T0 is acting downward, you can see here. And FB will act upward. So one may ask me a question, when the system is installed in water, because of wave action, the submerged volume will be keep on changing dynamically. How that is adjusted? For a given W, if the submerged volume changes, buoyancy will change. When buoyancy changes, the tension in the cable will automatically change. So we can say this as dynamic tether tension. Now interestingly, if the system has to fail or the system loses its stability, it will only happen when T0 is removed. It means if the cable gets cut, the system will lose stability. So that is why they design. So one can ask me a question, why such systems are designed? Because there is always an apprehension that cable can be cut. It is designed in such a manner. Let us look at the degrees of freedom of this, because in vibration you must have studied degrees of freedom. Let us look at degrees of freedom of this, then we will go to the presentation. Let us, I am talking about degrees of freedom. Which we say as DOF. Let us imagine a plane. So plane, this is X axis, this is Y axis, and this is Z axis. Let's imagine a plane. There are two planes here, horizontal plane and vertical plane. I can call this plane as XY plane. I can call this plane as YZ plane. YZ plane. Now I want to mark the degrees of freedom on this. Take a mass point. Any mass point. This will have freedom to move along X. I call this as surge. This will have freedom to move along Y. I call this as sway. You can easily remember this name because Y axis sway. This point can also move along Z, that is called heave. So 3 displacements. Now put your thumb towards the direction. The remaining 4 fingers will have a direction. Let's say I put my thumb here, the remaining 4 fingers will give me a direction. That's called rotation about X. I call that as roll. Similarly, put my thumb here, I get the remaining figures, I call rotation about Y, or let's say rotation about Z, I call yaw. Similarly, provide along Y, rotation about Y, I call pitch. So 3 rotations. So the displacements are surge, sway and heave. This is along X, this is along Y, this is along Z. 3 rotations are roll, pitch and yaw. That is about X, about Y, about Z. So now let us understand the degrees of freedom and then look at the comprehensive property of the structure. I have a system which is connected to the seabed using cables. System has weight W, system has buoyancy Fb, system has C0 initial tension. If there are 4 legs, so I should say 4T0 plus W is my Fb. Equation of static equilibrium. Now when this body is subjected to wave, under wave action, this platform will move horizontal, so sway, surge and sway. The platform will also move vertical, heave. The platform can rotate about x-axis, so roll, rotate about y-axis, so pitch, rotate about z-axis, yaw. Interestingly, surge, sway and yaw are soft degrees. It means they have a very large period. The typical periods of surge, sway and yaw, surge, sway and yaw, is approximately 70 to 100 seconds. The remaining 3 degrees, that is heave, roll and pitch. Heave is a vertical movement, roll about X, pitch about Y. So time periods of roll, pitch and heave is approximately 3 to 5 seconds. So what do we understand by this? We derive a very interesting information from this. The information is, okay, I'll keep it here. Now, surge, sway and yaw are very high periods. It means they are flexible. What is period? Omega is K by M. Omega is also equal to 2 pi by T inverse. So T very large, K very small. K very small, system flux. So surge, sway and yaw are flexible. It means surge, sway and yaw are flexible. So the system is flexible in horizontal plane because all these 3 degrees of freedom are measured in horizontal plane. You can see here surge, sway and yaw. They measure in horizontal plane, XY plane. So on XY plane, it is very flexible. Look at the other degrees. So pitch and heave, the period is very low. When very low period, very high stiffness. Very high stiffness, not flexible, stiff. So it is stiff about vertical plane. How? Roll, pitch and heave. They all will be measured in this way. So about the vertical plane, it is stiff. About the horizontal plane, it is flexible. Such systems are called hybrid systems. One such example which is available in Gulf of Mexico systems are tension leg platforms. Why they are called tension leg? Because in a given system, these legs, which are called teethers, will be always in tension. Okay? So they are called tension leg platforms. So we are going to study stability analysis of TLPs under earthquake loads and extreme waves. That's the combination. So we'll discuss about this. Any doubt here? Any difficulty here?
Any doubts? No doubt, sir. Please go ahead, sir. Thank you.
So there are two, yeah, please.
It is going to be placed on the sea waters.
Yes.
So how about the tidal forces in the horizontal plane? We haven't taken into consideration.
Okay, now you see, okay, thank you. Let us see. So far when we discussed about the degrees of freedom, we have not talked about the forces at all. Degrees of freedom are independent displacement coordinates which are given to the system whether load is applied or not. So it is a freedom along which the body can move. It is nothing to do with the forces at all. Force may act, may not act. Now answering this question, he says how we are going to take care of the tidal forces. I am talking about the waves. Wave actually includes tide as well. Tide is only one part of the wave. Maybe tide is about 1% of the wave. Wave forces, if you say x, tidal force will be 0.001 x. Very, very small, because waves are going to act only on the surface. I mean tidal, but these waves are going to act for the entire depth. So we will account for this in right hand side of the equation of motion in f of t, where we will talk about the extreme cases. So degrees of freedom are independent of the forces. Degrees of freedom are dependent only on the idea or the constraint you are imposing on the system. So it's a system property. It is nothing to do with the loading conditions at all. Okay, they are boundary conditions. They are different. Degrees of freedom are freedom given to this mass to move in any plane. We have taken 6 degrees of freedom. Is it clear? So any questions? So there are 2 reasons why there are no questions. 1, nobody is following anything. 2, nobody wants to ask anything. So let us relax, because you have an air conditioned studio there. We also have an AC studio here. And we are faculty, 3rd day running in the program. People are tired, because I know Meera would have taken a lot of labor from you every day and evening. So people are actually relaxed. So we do not want to ask anything. And interestingly, since we are not physically in contact with each other, even if you don't ask, so it doesn't matter. But I can see all of you sitting at the back. One person is just coming in and going out. I can see your eye contact very clearly. I can see you are watching or relaxing or sleeping and so on, which we are all faculty. We belong to the same community. We are the same family. Okay. We know when anything interesting is discussed, we try to put our effort. The effort will be only on first few minutes. After that, it is a teacher's responsibility to make it interesting. It is not a student's responsibility, because students will always ask, The listeners will always have a choice of not listening if the lecture is not interesting. So we have to make it interesting. Therefore, we have to ask questions in between to really find out, are you actually in line with me or not? So it is that reason why I am asking. It is not because I want you to answer. I really wanted to know that you are with me or not. Okay, that is the reason. Okay, let us move on to the presentation now. I have spent some time to understand you what structure we are talking about, because if you do not know the title of the problem, if you do not know the system, which you have not obviously seen, being a mechanical engineer, whatever I present, you will give a simple comment. Sir, the lecture was wonderful. The presentation is very synchronized. Your voice is very highly audible. Your lecture was interesting, but I am not able to understand anything, because I do not know what offshore structures are. I am very weak in stability. I do not know extreme wave. I never heard earthquakes. So your lecture is completely out of context for me. But it was interesting. So that I do not want at a comment at the end of the lecture. I want you to really understand. Have you understood the problem first? We are talking about what kind of problem. Yes, we have understood, because we have known. Now we know some extent stability is capability of a system to regain its original position. That is recentering capability under extreme cases. When it is done under normal cases, that is called static equilibrium. It is not stability. Stability is challenged only when displacements are not returned back, when the system does not come back to normalcy under extreme cases. So stability will lead to failure. So stability is the first step towards catastrophic failure. So we are assessing a system, is it going to fail or not? Okay, so I will pick up an example where I will show you the system is undergoing large displacement in vertical degree. Whereas you have just now heard from me, in vertical degree like heave, the displacements are to be constrained because it is a stiff degree of freedom. When I get a problem where the heave displacements and pitch and roll displacements are very, very large, system can plug off from the sea bottom, it can become unstabilized. So that's when you may wonder, is it a hypothetical problem? Because any problem which is not real, it is not interesting. Okay? So what we have done is, no offshore structure has so far failed under earthquake forces. But we have simulated a failure case and see if this force comes, will it fail or not? If it does not have to fail, how my geometric form should be designed? That's the argument here. Okay? So we are going for extreme cases. Extreme cases do not occur even in the lifetime of the structure, doesn't matter. But as a designer, as an engineer, we must assess its safety and stability under extreme combinations. If it occurs, will the system sustain? That's the question here. Therefore, this is not a real problem, but the signal picked up is a real signal. Okay, I'll show you how it is done. So can we proceed? Is there any difficulty, doubt here at this moment? Now it's 9:45. They got about 35 slides. I will quickly take you around faster, slightly faster, so that we have enough time to interact. Okay? So please pay attention to the PowerPoint what I am showing now. Are we able to see the PowerPoint? Yes. So I will just not read the entire line because that's a very bad practice. I will not read the whole line. I will only explain important points in that particular slide. Offshore structures are generally used for oil and gas exploration. These structures are unique in design and construction. They are very expensive. The state-of-art engineering is multidisciplinary. That's very, very important. Interestingly, under recent alert of tsunami in Indian coast, if we have a structure of this order in Indian coast, stability should be checked. Fortunately, we don't have. I mean, it's not that we don't have a tsunami. Fortunately, we do not have an offshore structure along the Indian coast. It is unfortunate because we don't produce oil. Therefore, we are always indebted to other countries to supply oil to us. A day will come where we are going to produce oil on our own capacity. We do, but a limited quantity. ONGC does it, limited quantity. Whereas if you look at countries like United States, there are about 1,700 platforms within Gulf of Mexico. Australia, UK, Brazil, Netherlands, Malaysia, they have oil platforms. Okay, we have very few. We have countable numbers, which is not sufficient for Indian origin to produce or to manufacture oil for our industrial applications. Therefore, we do not have such structures in the world around Indian coast. But under tsunami alerts, if structures are constructed like this order, then it is very risky. We must check the stability. So it is form dominated design. That's very important. The structure is form dominated design. What does it mean is, the structure is designed in such a way, the structure will behave in compliant nature. You may ask me a question, sir, why we design a structure in compliant nature and then check for stability? The structure will be stiff completely, so it will never become unstable. Very good question, though you have not asked it. The answer is like this. If you make the system stiff, the system will have lot of loads, lot of material density. The moment you put more material, cost is going to be exponentially high. Number one. Number two, I can give a very simple psychological example. Any system which is stiff will always have a tendency to attract more forces. For example, you and your friend, you are about 75 kg, your friend is about 50 kg, I am 62 kg. So you go for a shopping mall. Because he is a gymnast, he picks a fight with a person, he will always have a tendency to attract more forces. But you will always say him, "Arey yaar, chhod do, let us not fight with him," because you are flexible in nature. Okay? So flexibility is a property which will not attract forces. I should have a system which should not attract forces because it is safe for me in design. So therefore, recent application, offshore structures are designed to remain flexible. In 1920s and 30s, offshore structures were designed to remain very, very stiff. They have failed. Therefore, people never wanted the system to remain. So all offshore structures at present moment are designed only to remain highly flexible, highly movable. Okay? Therefore, flexibility is a form dominated characteristic which is used for deep water oil exploration. Compliancy refers to flexibility. So we should design a system which is heave restrained. One may ask me a question, sir, why the system should remain heave restrained? That is in vertical plane. If the system is flexible in vertical plane, you cannot do oil exploration, you cannot do drilling. Because you know, when you walk on a circus net, when you walk on a floor, when the floor moves lateral, you will be able to manage. When the floor moves vertical, you will fall down. Okay, so therefore, heave restraint should be always imposed in design. So we have a design which is heave restraint. So tensioner platform is one such example where the design is heave restraint, it is form dominated, it is very flexible, but let us see what happens to the system under extreme cases. Does it lose stability? So as I said, in TLP, buoyancy exceeds the design. That is, FB is much larger than weight. Okay? So you have to hold it down in position by teethers. So TLPs are hybrid platforms, we already said that. They have a very large displacement due to compliancy. So there's a very interesting terminology which we must understand. If my platform is connected to seabed using teethers, if the platform is subjected to lateral load because of waves, the platform will move to the right, but the cables will not allow the platform to move to the right. So look at this force, look at the horizontal component of this force. The horizontal component of this force will try to bring this platform back to normalcy. That is called restoration. The vertical force component of this force will add stability. It will add to W. Okay? So technically, from this CG to this CG, we call this as offset. And we call this as set down. So interestingly, set down happens in heave degree. Offset happens in surge or shading, doesn't matter. So offset is very large. Why? Because it is compliant, it is flexible. So very large offsets, very small set downs. Why? He is stiff degree. Because of this combination in its behavior, this platform is called hybrid platform. Okay? Now, if displacements are very small, such displacements are very large, even under the action of forces. This force can be wave loads, it can be current, it can be tides, it can be earthquakes, it can be impact by a vessel, etc. It can be even wind. All these are called environmental loads, okay? So they are going to act now. Let's move on further. So let us talk about stability of tethers, because stability of the platform will be affected only when the tethers are lost. So we are talking about stability of the tethers alone. It means tethers will become unstable when they are pulled off, when they get slackened. Why? When they get slackened, T0 is 0. When T0 becomes 0, let us see here what happens. W plus 4T0 is FB. T0 is 0. W is far less than FB. Platform will start floating. Okay, so we call that as instability. Platform should remain in position for drilling. If the platform is floating like a ship or a vessel, we call still that as unstable condition. Is that clear? So that's what we are talking about. Now interestingly, one may ask me a question, sir, how do we impose earthquake forces here? Earthquake forces are happening at the sea bed, and we are talking about a depth typically of about 1000 meters. So when you impose an earthquake signal at the sea bed, how this signal will disturb the platform on the top? Can anybody answer this or perceive this question? Because I am imposing signal here. For example, see, if the system is resting on the seabed, let's say I have a system which is resting on the seabed and I impose earthquake forces. So system will get damaged, because earthquake forces will impose displacement, and displacement will cause damage to the body. Fine. But here I have a system and earthquake is happening here, and the system is floating in water. How earthquakes will affect the system? Okay. Yeah, anybody wants to answer? Okay, why? Because the system is connected to seabed with tethers. The earthquake forces causes displacement. The displacement will change T0. The moment T0 is changed, W plus 4T0 is FB. There is an equilibrium. When T0 is increased or decreased, the system remains unstable. So earthquake forces will impose indirect force on the body by changing in tension. Okay, tension will be changed. So interestingly, how do you get this force? So system equation, mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx is f of t. Mass is known to me. There are many references available. K can be derived. Many references available. Interestingly, K is a function of T0. So, any change in T0 will affect K. Any change in K will affect natural frequency. If this frequency matches with the wave frequency, the system will be in resonance. When the system is in resonance and T0 is changed, stability is challenged. So the problem is multi-complex. Okay? So that's what we are trying to look at. So in this example, we have imposed the earthquake forces using Kanai-Tajimi spectrum. I'll give you the equation. So can you see the screen at the bottom? I think the resolution, there is a problem. Can you see this part? The spectrum? Okay. It's anyway available in the printout. You can see that.
Yes.
Yes. Any question? Yes, yes.
That platform as well as the cables will be able to do something.
I am not able to hear you. I am not able to hear you.
Yeah, if you have some sketches about that platform as well as cables, we will be extremely
I'll show
happy.
you.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you. So the platform. Okay. This is the plan and elevation of the platform. You can see here. So it has got 3 columns and a system, and that's in elevation. All the dimensions are marked. I'll show you a video later how the platform responds under wave loads in experimental conditions. So that's the tension of the platform. In reality, you can compare this with Mars TLP constructed in Gulf of Mexico. I will not be able to show you the picture of Mars TLP because it's a copyright problem. But when you say Google simply, you can get Mars TLP picture in the Google in 1 second. So this is an ideal system, mathematical model of what I am showing here on the screen now. Of course, Mars TLP has got 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4 in plan. Whereas my system has only 3 columns in plan. Okay? As I said in the beginning, with this system, can you ensure stability? So it is form dominated design. So we are checking whether this form is okay compared to this. Okay, so we picked up this example. So we are using Kanai-Tajimi spectrum, which I showed you the equation. The spectrum equation is available here. Yes, xx dot double dot omega is the bottom. You can see here. This is the equation. It's available in the paper also. Okay. So I get intensity. The moment I get this intensity, I try to apply. That's the original spectrum. And that's the intensity, yes, not. Okay. I apply this at the bottom, and this causes T0 change. And T0 change is estimated with this equation. equation number 12. You can see at the bottom, delta T. That is equation number 12. You can see in the bottom here, delta T. So it has got x of t and xg, that is ground displacement. So the ground displacement xg is obtained from the spectrum, which I will show you. Therefore, this causes delta T. Delta T is nothing but change in T naught. So that's the first force we have. The second force we have is from the waves. So the second force we have is from the waves. Distinctly high sea waves. So we have used Pearson Moskowitz spectrum, PM spectrum, to generate this wave. So there are two forces here. One is earthquake force, which causes displacement, which results in delta T0, which affects stiffness matrix. The second force is the wave force, which is extremely high wave height, which affects the platform, and that becomes a part of f of t on the equation of motion. So now if we apply mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx as f of t, in this f of t, the system has got forces from Pearson Moskowitz spectrum. In k, the system has got indirect forces from Kani-Tajimi spectrum. So these two are now combined, and the system is analyzed. So what are the equations about to get this, to get this, to get this, and to solve this is available anyway in the paper. So I think you must have hand in hand out. Dr. Meera, have you given that printout to all of them? Okay. So everybody is showing, fine. So fine, everybody showed it. Excellent. So I request you to go through that so you will know that how we are getting the equations of this in the printout. Okay, now let us quickly look into the results. Okay, now before we go to the results, do you have any questions here at this point? Anybody has any question? Please raise your hand so that mic can be given to you, then I will try to answer them. Do you have any questions at this point? Yes, sir. I think he has a question.
Sir, can you just...
Yeah, I am able to hear you.
Can you once again make your last point once again, sir, so that those two things...
Yeah, I'll make the last point. Yeah, thank you. I'll once again repeat the last point. The last point, as I understand, is I'm having a system. System should have equation of motion of this order. So mass, damping, and stiffness matrices are available in standard derivation in the references given to you. We are not looking at that here. F of t is a force vector. The force vector has got two components. One is a direct force vector, which comes from the waves, which can be obtained from Pearson Moskowitz spectrum, which looks like this. This is frequency, this is S eta eta omega. Equation available in your handout. So that gets completely imposed directly on the right hand side of the vector. It has got second component, which is earthquake force, which happens at the bottom. Therefore, this cannot have direct impact on the system because the system is floating. But this will have a change in theta tension, which is given by this equation 12 in the handout, which will give it delta T naught. Delta T naught will be affecting K. K will affect the equation of motion. So there are two kinds of forces here. One indirectly comes from earthquake because of change in stiffness, which is a typical vibration problem. The other comes from the wave force, which is direct with a dynamics problem. So under this condition, I want to analyze the system. Have I answered your question? Okay. Any other doubt or any observations? Are we going too fast? Are we able to follow? We are not able to. It's completely out of my head. Or I came very late. I'm not interested. But okay, it's completely new to me. I have not read your paper. Nothing is understood by me, but I am listening. Your lecture is very audible. I am able to hear you.
All are following, sir. Very good, sir. Very interesting. Thank you.
Oh, anyway. Oh, that is motivating me to continue for another 15 minutes because Meera is very clever. Meera knows how to get the work done from people. So, okay, good. So, let me continue for another 20 more minutes. Because now we are 10:11. I'll complete 10:25. Anyway, I'll stop at 10:20. I'll give you some time to ask. Since you are not asking anything, I'll take your time also in my lecture because there are no questions asked. Let us see the solution. Before we give you the results, one will be curious to know how this problem is solved. This problem is solved using numerical method, which we call as Newmark's beta method. This equation is solved using Newmark's beta method, which is a numerical method. This method is iterative and you have standard solutions available. So we have solved this. Anyway, we are not looking into how this has been solved. The standard algorithm is available. One can solve this easily. Okay. So one will also like to know. So what is the reality of this problem? Because the triangular TLP what you attempted is not real. Because it's a new form. It's a new form where we have a pattern. Okay. The existing form is something square. So we are subjecting earthquake forces to this form and seeing the results. How it is real? The reality is very interesting. The location where this platform is situated in Gulf of Mexico, there an earthquake occurred. We picked up that signal and matched that signal with the exact occurrence and applied onto this platform. So I'll show you that. Please see the screen. Okay. So an earthquake was generated to match the peak velocity occurred in Gulf of Mexico in 2006. This was located in a specific place 250 miles west-southwest of Anna Maria in Florida. At this time epicentered in this coordinate where fortunately a Mars TLP is located. So Mars TLP was located in the situation where the earthquake occurred. We picked up that signal and applied to the system. Okay, so it's more or less a quasi-real problem. Okay, now let us look into the results. So these are geometric properties of TLP. TLP 1, 2, 3. We picked up 3 TLPs. You can see the weight in kilonewton. Divide by 10, you will get tons. So it's about 21,000 tons. I'm talking about the displacement weight is so high. Okay, 370, 100, 37,000 tons. They are very, very high. We look at the T0, the values are in kilonewton, so it's about 12,450 tons. So they are very, very high. Any small value change in T0 will cause huge force to the system. Okay, they are very, very high. You can see the figures here. I am talking about dimensions of 90 meter, 80 meter and 80 meter. D is the diameter of the member. Small d is the water depth, 500 meter, 600 meter, 1200 meters. Okay, so we are talking about 3 systems at different water depths. We want to see what could be the influence of this on the stability problem. Okay. So we did free vibration analysis. So we got the results like this. We did free vibration analysis. The heave frequency of the system is closer to, very close to the C waves frequency, which is about 0.46 Hertz. So the extreme wave generated has got this frequency which is close to the heave frequency. I remind you, heave is actually a stiff degree of freedom. So we intentionally matched this frequency with this and see whether heave will have a serious problem on the platform. So because it is this mode or this mode or this mode which can cause stability problem. So one can ask me a question, why it cannot happen in surge, sway and yaw? Because surge, sway and yaw are already flexible degrees. So system cannot be challenged in stability on these issues. Stability can be challenged only on stiff degrees. So we are saying we have created an input data in such a manner that this is challenged. So we got the natural frequency of the system in this order, and now let us see the results. So you can see the periods and frequency of different TLP on the screen now. Close to about, let us say, 0.5, 0.3 different TLPs in frequency. In surge, heave and pitch. I am looking at surge, heave and pitch, because heave and pitch are interested for me for stability. Surge is interested for me for flexibility. I am looking both the values parallel. Look at the response summary. TLP1, time history and power spectral density peaks are shown on the screen now. So if you look at the time history response, the maximum response occurred at value of 1.2 meter in heave, pitch about so many radians, this about so many meters. So one can interestingly see here, the heave response is more than surge, whereas in the design, surge would have been much larger than heave. So because of this resonating match, heave response has exceeded surge, which is quite dangerous in the design. Okay? If you look at the power peaks of the power spectral density function of these degrees of freedom, you will see that interestingly they have a very close match. They have a very close match. Okay, the second peak and the third peak. The second peak and the third peaks are matching for all TLPs. What does it mean? You give any form to the system, when the system is excited to this order and the escape forces, the system resonates or vibrates only on two dominant frequencies. That is, one is about 0.7, other is about 1.5. What are these values? Okay. So let us write down here. The peak frequencies of vibrations are, the peak frequencies of vibrations are 1, close to 0, second, close to 0.7, third, close to 1.6, correct? In all forms. That is TLP1, TLP2, TLP3. Correct? That's what we see from the screen here. Let us see what are these importance. Let us see the plots. Let us see the power spectral density function. You can see at the PSD plots, The first one is for heel, second is for pitch, third one for surge. This is for TLP1, TLP2, TLP3. You can see two peaks, okay, 0.7 and 1.5, as you can see in all the cases. Okay, now let us see what is the importance of this. The first peak is close to 0, which is very small and can be neglected. You can see here the first peak is close to 0 and the response very low, so we neglect this. Look at the second peak. The second peak is the mid frequency, which is natural frequency of the TLP. So this is close to natural frequency of the TLP. It is resonating. Now let us look at the third peak. The third peak is average peak of PM and KT spectrum. What is PM spectrum? PM spectrum is wave, KT spectrum is S square. You take an average of these and that is equal to 1.6. So now you see here the problem is very complicated. The system resonates at one part, at one frequency. It re-resonates at second frequency. So that's very dangerous. You have two peaks which are coming in the system which will challenge the stability now. One, frequency matching with the natural frequency system. Okay. The second could be it is also matching with the forcing frequency. And the peaks are occurring successfully. See here. One peak, the next peak. One peak, next peak. One peak, next peak. All the three in heave. Whereas heave is supposed to be stiff degree. Look at the surge which is compliant. This peak, which is resonating peak, is missing. It means the system is not resonating in surge. The system is resonating in heave, which is very dangerous. Now one can ask me a question, how stability is challenged? To understand stability in mechanical engineering, we know that we plot what is called phase plots. What are phase plots? Phase plots are variation of displacement and velocity. That's called a phase plot. If the phase plot is circular, which is ideal, no problem. If the phase plot is elliptical with major axis, it is stable, but it is having some indications only at certain frequency it is stable. If the phase plot is 8, then it is perfectly stable. Okay? See here what happens to phase plot. First of all, the phase plots are not 8, they are not circular, they are elliptical, but the major axis shifted. What does it mean? It means it has got influence of two frequencies. One, the natural frequency, one, the excitation frequency. So this will result in destabilization of the system. So one can ask me a question, how we can conclude the system is unstabilized? We can conclude like this. So it is 10:22. So in another few minutes I'll stop the lecture. So I'll complete it and take few questions from you. So 10:30 will exactly close. Okay. So conclusion is, you will be interested to know how one can say the system stability is challenged. How one can say this? One can say this because if my T0 value exceeds permissible limit, okay, then system fails. Now what is the permissible limit? T0 should not exceed 16 to 20% of initial value. Whereas in this case, it has exceeded 60%. See here. You can see here the percentage tension varies 40, 20 and 60. They exceed. So if the system would have been subjected in reality, the tension in the cable would have been very high and the cable would have been cut. So that is what instability is, or instability is rather. So let us quickly see the conclusions. TLPs are expected to be rigid in stiff degree like heave, because if heave is challenged, integrity will be affected, functionality will be challenged. So TLP should be designed for horizontal and vertical earthquake motions, and TLP stability is challenged in this case when the T0 exceeds 60%. So interestingly, we have got some textbooks which are authored by me. You can look into these textbooks for more understanding of offshore structures. One is on Offshore Structural Engineering, Risk and Reliability by CRC. Other is on Dynamic Analysis and Design by Springer India. Other is on Advanced Marine Structures, CRC Florida. Other is on Advanced Theory on Offshore Plant Feed Engineering by South Korea. Other is on Analysis Design of Offshore Structures by South Korea. So I got 5 books written on this. I also have NPTEL courses which you are aware or you may not be aware. You can see the links. For more understanding and knowledge, you can look into these courses. They are free to follow. We all know NPTEL are very good connectivity these days. I have Advanced Marine Structures 2013, Health, Safety and Environmental Management 2013, Dynamics of Ocean Structures 2013, Ocean Structures and Materials 2013, Dynamic Analysis 2015, Risk and Reliability 2016. So even now a course is running. So you can look into these courses, download the videos, learn them more and try to understand the problem better. So it is 10:28, I'll stop. But I want to know any last question from you.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
All doubt, sir. Your platform tethers are perpendicular to X-ray plane, sir, actually.
Perpendicular to?
X-ray plane. That means
Okay,
a flat.
plane. Correct. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So, is there any chance to fix incline for tethers?
Okay, see, basically, tethers are cables. Cables will remain straight only when they are taut. Taut means in tension. Okay. Now, whether you keep it vertical or inclined, doesn't matter.
Now, vertical means there are more chances to acting forces, more forces on the.
Okay, let me try to clarify his idea. 1 minute.
Yes.
When the force acting, the force is not taken by the tethers at all. Force taken only by the system. When the system moves, tether has got a force which brings back the system to displacement. Tethers do not take any force of waves at all. Zero. Only system takes the force, not the tethers. Tethers are helpful to restore the system, to bring it back to normal equilibrium because of the horizontal component. Then this force is not the force because of wave. This is because of initial tension given in the system.
Yes,
So it is not because of the waves. It is because of buoyancy. See, W plus C0 is Ft. Because of buoyancy you get this. It is not because of waves. Buoyancy is displaced volume, not waves. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes,
What about the dimensions of the cable? Materials used for the cable and then cross section of the cable. Could you please some time for about one?
The tethers are actually having outer diameter of about 300 millimeters. They have a thickness of the wall about 33 millimeters, and inside this each steel of 20 mm dia or 10 mm dia will be kept. It is similar to an electric wire. Material is C, Young's modulus is conventional. Okay?
Sir, can we use 8 tethers? You have 4. Suppose if you use a pair of tethers and use some smart materials or some sensors, like when you it's moving to one side, can we make sure that the other pair would exert some opposite? Do you have any such studies? That is one thing.
Actually,
Second thing, do you have any circumferential sensor? Any studies on exclusively on the tethers?
Extremely very good question. That is why I brought Tailami with me. She is working on health monitoring. So what we are trying to do in this case is, when the step down or the offset is beyond a specific value, it is going to change the tether tension very dangerously. So sensors are put on the board. The board will measure the displacement, and the displacement exceeds the specific value. There will be thrusters available on the system peripherally, which will move the platform back. So without saving the tethers. So tethers will not be affected by this change in tension. Tethers will be untouched. There will be thrusters which will bring the platform to normal. So studies are now under research. They are not actually implemented, but people are looking at in the domain of health monitoring of structures. It is happening. That's a good idea. It's a good area of research. Yes, we work on this. She is also working on that, but she is working on wireless sensors. She says, I am not going to put sensors anywhere with a wire. I'll connect them wireless and measure the response and apply a thruster, bring back the system normal. She is working on that. So research are happening. Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Yes.
Hello, I am Mallikarjun Rao.
I am
Hello?
not able to see you. I am not able to see you. Oh, okay. I am able to see you. Yes. Please sit down, sir. No problem. Please be seated.
These tethers are fixed at the floor, I mean at the bottom, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So is there any work going on, like, to show that the force from due to the earthquake is minimized to the, I mean, in the transmission, the earthquake force, we can design the fixture in such a way that the force transmitted is minimized. Any such
Very good question. Very good question, Professor Mallikarjun. I'll try to answer this. There's 2 answers on this. I'll give you both the answers. Professor Mallikarjun wanted to know, I have a system which is at a depth of about, let's say, 1000 meters. Say, for example, earthquake force is applied. That's what he said. And is there any way by which this force can be minimized? Am I right, sir? Okay. Now let us make some corrections in this. Number 1, earthquake is not a force. Earthquake is a displacement. What does it do is, it displaces the seabed. For example, I have a tether, I have a seabed, earthquake is applied, there is going to be a shear at this place. So it causes displacement. Number 1. Number 2, is there any mechanism by which this effect on the body can be reduced? The whole hydrodynamic damping is available to reduce this effect. So in this case, my problem is not because of the earthquake force or the displacement. My problem is when this displacement changes my T0, my stiffness affected, therefore system gets unstable. You understand the problem? The problem is not because of displacement at seabed at all. For example, if the tethers are not there, system is completely floating, earthquake happens, no problem, absolutely zero. When you connect the system with a cable, when the cable has a T0 change, when the T0 change affects stiffness, my system is unstable. So that's what I am looking at. Yes.
Sir, I would like thank you on behalf of all the participants for your nice lecture, stability analysis of offshore structures. So we are all enjoyed your session, sir. You have highlighted complicated issues, made it very simple.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. I am sure that with permission, many number of scholars they wanted to work with you
Yes.
in the MTech as well as PhD.
Okay. So please see the screen now. 1 minute. Please see the screen now. I am available at this particular email ID. So this is my affiliation. I am professor in Department of Ocean Engineering. This is my home page. This is my email ID. So please look at the home page. I've got a lot of publications available there. My email ID is given. So you are most welcome to interact by email, by Skype, by telephone, etc. And we do also take a lot of QAP admissions in PhD and MS. If you are interested, we can do that. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, thank you.